It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
I went to Disneyland with Huck, and what a time we had. Holy cow. That's going to be some of the commentary on today's podcast. Thanks for checking out the Sean Widmer Podcast. It means a lot. You can always get involved with it if you would like over at Spotify. If you listen on Spotify, you can comment there. You can comment on our YouTube, on the YouTube. What is it? Is it youtube.com? I haven't checked this in a while. youtube.com/Bommarooski. Is that it? I believe so. Yeah, youtube.com/Bommarooski. That's it, right? Yeah, that is it. youtube.com/Bommarooski. You can go there. And you can also go to seanslife.com and comment there. We get to the comments at the end of the podcast. Today, though, we're talking about Disneyland. I've got some observations from my trip, but also just in general. I've got to talk about something that happened at Disneyland with me that I think I'm happy and okay with. I'm happy and okay with it. We'll talk about that. I wanted to start off with this, though. We went to Disneyland. It was my son, Huck, my 3.5-year-old son. I think it matters. 3.5. I think if he was 3, I remember him in January, it would not have been as fun. But 3.5 worked out okay. My mother-in-law went as well. One of the things she does, she takes all the grandkids at some point in their life to Disneyland. So I had planned this trip with Huck to Disneyland, and my mother-in-law caught wind of it and was like, let me come with you. Can I come with? And we can do this as her trip to Disneyland. I can have help, and she gets to come hang out at Disneyland and buy our lunches and dinners. I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm in on this. First of all, my mother-in-law is great. I've mentioned this before. She's wonderful. She's easy to be around, easy to travel with, easy to just hang with. And she was the biggest asset ever, because I would say this was probably 6-7 years ago. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe 10 years ago, my early to mid-30s. I grew up somebody who loved roller coasters. Oh my gosh, I loved them. I've never been able to do spinny stuff. I get really dizzy, but I loved a roller coaster and roller coaster-esque rides. And about 10 years ago, I did a roller coaster that I'd done a million times at Silverwood up in Idaho, northern Idaho. And I got off and I was sick to my stomach and I couldn't rally. And since that point, I've not been able to do roller coasters or any rides. They just make me so nauseous. And my son wanted to do all of the twirly rides, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of them with him, and it would have been a miserable trip to Disneyland. My mother-in-law rode all of them with him. I need to get, what was it? Astro Ride Disneyland. What is this ride? Astro Orbiter. Let me see how they describe it at the Disneyland website. The Astro Orbiter. This is Huck's favorite ride. Pilot your very own rocket ship high in the sky amid gleaming constellation of orbiting planets. It's these 8-foot-long rocket ships, and they just go in a circle. That's it. And you pull a lever, and they go up, and Huck just pulled it. Maximum height, spin around for 45 seconds, and then down again. I tried to ride it one time with him. I got off, and I thought, ooh, if I do that one more time, I'm going to vomit on my son. We're going to talk about my son in Disneyland. We're going to talk about me in Disneyland. But I want to address something bigger. But I did want to say thank you to Lisa, my mother-in-law, for coming along, making the trip way more enjoyable, helping out a ton with my son, and giving me a moment that I will never forget. So we're going to get to that. But there was something that happened at Disneyland I've got to start with. This. So Disneyland, magical place, the most magical world, happiest place in the world. I forget what their slogan is. And it's wonderful. And I had a blast there. I am not an adult Disneyland person. I'm an adult who loves Disney movies. I will always love Disney movies, always and forever. I love them. But I'm not a Disneyland adult. Okay, it's just not my thing. It's not what I would choose to do. But we're there with my son. And once I'm there, I'm having a great time. And it's really hard to not have a great time because it's Disneyland and there's all the characters are around and the rides are fun and the way it's set up is so cool and they've just done a great job. at making it an enjoyable place. And I was blown away. And I wish that they had cameras everywhere. I'm sure they do, but I wish they had cameras for this at Disneyland. It was maybe 1 in 20, maybe 1 in 10. 1 out of every 10 people would get off a ride happy. And 9 out of 10, and it made me so mad all weekend, people would wait in line 40 minutes to get on a ride, 30 minutes, 20 minutes to 40 minutes to get on these rides, little rides. They'd ride this ride for 40 seconds, and their faces when they got off looked like it was like they had just been forced to eat a rotten egg. You just went on a ride that you only get to go on at Disneyland. You're at Disneyland. You are not at work. You're not at home. You're probably with your family having a great time. And you just got off this ride acting like, man, my life is ruined. I noticed it on the very first ride we went on and thought it would be a one-off. And then it was all weekend. The Ferris wheel. We waited to get on the Ferris wheel for a very long time. Probably about 40 minutes. Okay, my son wanted to do it. It ended up being one of his favorite rides. But on the Ferris wheel, everyone had to walk by you as they got off the ride. They would just walk right by us. And the faces getting off that thing were the most disappointed and depressing people. And I thought, you don't deserve to come back. This is where Disney needs cameras. And they should, excuse me, clock in the face. They should get your face, capture it, and say, you've got a 1-year ban. You're clogging up our lines. You're making people wait longer. Also that you can get on a ride and be sad when you get off. It was crazy. So if you're going to Disneyland, pay attention to this. It's wild. Dumbo ride. Huck and Nana wait on the Dumbo ride for a year to ride the Dumbo ride for 35 seconds. They get off. Lisa's grinning ear to ear. Huck's excited. And everybody else is like, Dumbo. Capital D-U-M-B. It was just crazy. Couldn't believe it. So I made sure when I was getting off rides, I was as happy as you should be when you get off a ride. I'm looking to high five people, big grin. I want the people who are still in line to be excited about it because they should be because you're at Disneyland. So I tried to give off good energy, but man, that was driving me crazy. Where do I want? You know what? Let's save mine for a second. My son loved Disneyland. My son does not care about Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Goofy, Donald, Daisy. My daughter does. My son does not. He went to Disneyland for 2 words. Lightning McQueen. Lightning McQueen. Radiator Springs. We spent the majority of the weekend at Radiator Springs. We would go to the Astro Orbiter, ride it. My son would get off of that and be like, we need to go back to Radiator Springs right now. We'd go ride the Ferris wheel. We'd get out the Ferris wheel. He's like, we need to go back to Radiator Springs right now. I need to touch Lightning McQueen. I need to see if there's any other cars out. I need to walk through the store with all the cars' toys. I need to be at Radiator Springs. So it was awesome because he just loved it. It was larger than life. He got to ride, the tractors, and he loves them, and it was just a cool moment for him to hear, Mater's voice on the overhead. Oh, it was magical. Get to see, we saw Lightning McQueen. We waited in line to see Lightning McQueen 4 or 5 times. He'd go up and touch Lightning McQueen. Oh, magical. It was awesome. He loved it. So the moment he saw Lightning McQueen 2 was just legendary. He was so excited. And we took about 15 pictures the first time we saw Lightning McQueen. And I wanted to send them all to my wife because this was the moment. It was Huck's first time getting to do this. It lived up to the hype. He was so excited, though, it made him have to go to the bathroom. And in all of the pictures, he's just grabbing himself. He's just and I actually don't know if it was because he was just nervous energy, or he needed to go to the bathroom, but that's every 15 pictures of him grabbing himself next to Lightning McQueen. The good news was we went back 3 or 4 more times, and at each time we went back, he got better at being around Lightning, and the pictures became more normal. But that first round of meeting Lightning, it's handful of pictures with a handful of Huck with a handful. So it was fun. Meeting Lightning McQueen was a moment I will never, ever forget. I had a moment at Disneyland, though, I wanted to talk about. So we spent the weekend, doing Huck rides, walking around with him, going to Astro Orbiter, then finding a carousel that he would want to ride, then going into the Ferris wheel, doing a bunch of the little kiddie rides, and then back to Radiator Springs, then, rinse and repeat. And that was the weekend. Now, I knew at Disneyland, Galaxy's Edge existed. I knew there was a part of this park where Star Wars reigned, and I wanted to go. But my son is very scared. And I knew in my head that my son would be scared, if Darth Vader was around there, Kylo Ren, Emperor Palpatine, my son would be permanently scared. So I steered clear of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. We didn't go over there. We got close a couple times. Went on the Jungle Cruise. He loved it. But we didn't go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Well, I kept talking to my mother-in-law about it, just kind of dropping hints that I wanted to go on Rise of the Resistance, one of the big Disney rides of all time. And finally, second day, my mother-in-law goes, look, why don't you go ride that ride right now? And we had the Lightning Pass to get on there. She got the Lightning Pass to get on there. And it had been closed most of the morning. The second it opened up, my mother-in-law goes, I've got Huck, go. Lisa gave her the hug and said, I owe you forever. I owe you forever. And I booked it away from Radiator Springs and off to Galaxy's Edge. So I get in there and I walk in and my heart is just full because I love Star Wars. In fact, I feel like a little history lesson here because it's one of the most important things in my life, right? First grade, so 89, I go to Luke Knight's house, and Evan and Matt Knights, Luke's older brothers, are watching Star Wars A New Hope. And I know as a first grader, my mom and dad would not want me watching Star Wars A New Hope. I know this, but I watch it. And Darth Vader haunted my life for the next 4 to 5 years. I would dream almost every night that he was in my doorway. And I would wake up and convince myself I was seeing him in my doorway. I was up all the time. I could not sleep for 2 years because of Darth Vader. But I loved it. And I loved the idea of Star Wars. And I grew up to just love those movies. Got all the Timothy Zahn books as they were coming out in the 80s and 90s. Read so many Star Wars books. Had so many Star Wars things, so many Star Wars games. I adored Star Wars. Star Wars betting, right? I loved and still love Star Wars. Grow up, the first 3, the prequels come out, and I loved them. People didn't always love them. I loved them. Saw them in theater, and I just loved them. So then they start coming out with shows on Disney. I'm super excited about it. Mandalorian, loved it, and so on and so forth. And I've always just loved the Star Wars shows and movies. And they get dunked on by people, and people make fun of them. And I would just kind of sit quietly and own it because I just love it. The 7, 8, 9, those movies come out. The Skywalker series come out. And I love them. I love them. I love Rey. I think it's a great story. I love Kylo Ren. I love Star Wars. It's a big part of my life. Always been a big part of my life. So getting to go to Galaxy's Edge was huge. And I'm frantically trying to get to Rise of the Resistance. And I get there and I get on the ride. And I'm so excited about it. And the timing worked out great where I just showed up they just reopened the ride. They just reopened it. They had been closed for like an hour or two for maintenance or like a shift change with employees, whatever it was. Give the people who worked that ride a break for a couple hours. And as I walked up, they opened it. And I was like, holy cow, what timing? And I had the Lightning Pass. I was the very first ride after they opened it. So I just walked right on. Didn't have to wait at all. I just walked right on. Now, I had to carry something lame on. My phone, this is my work phone right here. This is my work phone. I had my regular phone with me for the Disneyland app. And my real phone, this much of my screen, like right here, if you're looking at the video, a third of the screen up and down is not visible. It's broken. The screen's broken. And so you can't see it. Well, that affects it for the Disneyland app because there's barcodes you scan that go into the area you can't see on my phone. So my phone was worthless. My work phone blocks the Disneyland app, so I couldn't access it there. The only way I could access my Lightning Pass was on my iPad. And so I had my iPad carrying around to Disneyland, but I would put it in my son's Lightning McQueen bag that we bring into Disneyland with his snacks and water and change of clothes in case he wet himself or whatever, pooped himself seeing lightning. We had his Lightning McQueen backpack, and that's where my tablet was. So I'm in Star Wars, a 43-year-old man in Galaxy's Edge, about to jump on the Star Wars ride with this Lightning McQueen backpack because I had to bring the iPad so I could scan my Lightning Pass to get onto this ride. So here I am, 43-year-old man holding this Lightning McQueen bag. I get on the Rise of the Resistance, and this is not like a roller coaster or anything like that. It's an experience. It's a Star Wars experience. And you get on and you're walking through stuff and you get onto a little ship that like moves. It doesn't like go. It just moves and shakes. And the screen in front shows you going into outer space. And the screen behind shows you leaving the planet. And it's really cool. I don't want to spoil the ride, but I'm not going to spoil the ride. Maybe. I don't think so. Anyways. It's just great. And I'm realizing I'm really enjoying this ride. Like I am super excited to be on this ride. And 35 years of me loving Star Wars and pouring into Star Wars is like happening around me. I'm in Star Wars. And you walk into, in this ride, you walk into a Star Destroyer. You walk out of this pod, you're in a Star Destroyer. And there are 50 stormtroopers, real stormtrooper costumes right in front of you. This massive screen behind them that looks real. Stars. Outer space. There are people who are employees dressed in Imperial gear walking around. You are in a Star Destroyer. And everything caught up to me. I started crying. Real life. Like a baby. I'm crying. There are tears coming down my face, going down my cheek into my beard. And they're dripping down onto a Lightning McQueen backpack. A child's Lightning McQueen backpack. And I am in this ride with 20 other people who are looking at me, a 43-year-old man holding a Lightning McQueen backpack with tears streaming down my face, and they had to think, get me out of this ride. This man is single-handedly ruining this for me. It was just such an awesome experience. It was great. Decades of love poured into it, and I was in it, and the moment caught up to me. It was awesome. I loved it. It helped also, eventually on the ride, you get into individual pods with smaller groups, so groups of maybe 6 or 8. And there was 2 like 10-year-old boys, twins, on my pod. And everything that was happening, they were buying and getting worried about. There's part where it looks like someone's going to attack you. And they were like, Dad, 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 like panicking. And it made the ride so much better to hear the youthful excitement of this ride. I cried on Rise of the Resistance. There you go. 43-year-old man holding a Lightning McQueen backpack, crying because the emotions of Star Wars had caught up to me. And that's where I'm at in life. And I'm okay with it. Okay, let's wrap up with Kelly's What Are You Into? But we're going to do What Are You Not Into?
Kelly's What Are You Into?
Also at Disneyland, we watched one of the parades at night. Now, we were, I'm East Coast time where we live, and we traveled west, so we're going to West Coast time. So this parade we wanted to watch because it's got Lightning McQueen and Mac in it. It started at 8:45 Pacific, which is 11:45 body clock time, which is 5 hours, 4 hours past Huck's bedtime. So we were like, we got to somehow keep him awake, but I don't know how this is going to work because he's going to be exhausted. He somehow powered through, persevered. We got to this parade an hour and 15 minutes before it started, and the streets were already packed. People were getting there 2 hours before. Well, we found a tiny little section where Huck and I could squeeze in, or Nana and Huck could squeeze into the curb and sit pressed up against the trash can. But we would be sitting looking at the parade. And so I'm like, this is great. So we sit down. And not 20 minutes into us sitting down, some chucklehead behind us, walking with a stroller, couldn't handle the stuff that he had. A full slushie tips off his stroller, plop, lands right on the ground behind us, directly behind us. But it's off, maybe 4 feet. And this guy and his wife are mad at each other, and they storm off, and there's just Slurpee on the ground. And Huck and I are sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm like, why is my butt wet? Because the Slurpee had landed exactly in the area where the cracks just took this sticky liquid directly to where Huck and I were sitting. And the entire street, this guy spills right where these cracks lead to my butt. And I realized it too late, and I stood up off of the curb, and it was so sticky, my shorts were sticking to the curb, sticking to my leg. So my underwear is sticking to my shorts, was just sticking to the curb. My underwear sticking to my legs, it's just sticky. Huck started to have a meltdown because it's late. I'm sticking everywhere, and I felt so bad because my mother-in-law was there for the parade. She wanted to watch the whole thing. And Lightning McQueen passed by early, and I was like, we have got to go. I am sticky. I am chafing from a day of walking around sweating. Huck is starting to have a meltdown because it's 11:45, and this man spilled all over us. So I felt bad. My mother-in-law, she was a trooper. She left early with us, but I know she wanted to stay and watch the whole parade. But shout out to that guy. Thanks so much, buddy, for just dumping an entire Slurpee on our butts. Appreciate it. All right, thanks for listening to the podcast. Have a good day.